Okay, call the order of the meeting of the East Grand Forks City Council work session for Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Madam Secretary, could you please take roll call?
Mayor Mark Olstead.
Here.
Council President Brian Larson. Council Vice President Tim Riopel.
Here.
Council Members Tammy Schumacher.
Here.
Ben Pukshinsky.
Here.
Dale Helms. Don Kazmi.
Here.
Karen Peterson.
Here. Okay, recognizing the quorum is present, we'll start with number 1. Consideration of draft final socioeconomic study. Teri Kouba with the Forks MPO Senior Planner.
Good evening. I'm here with our consultants, Dave Sweeney with SRF and Mark Schill with Praxis. We're just here to present what we've gathered since we've been here last, and we kind of have a presentation, and we're looking forward to hearing what you guys have to think.
Yeah, thanks, Teri. So as Teri said, we're wrapping up the Forks MPO Socioeconomic Study update. What's that? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Then I can do it myself. Thank you. We were here in February earlier this year to talk about growth rates and growth forecasting for the metro and for the cities. That was phase 1 of the project, and then phase 2 of the project was allocating this growth spatially to different zones throughout the metropolitan planning area. So that's really the focus of today. That's the new stuff, but I will say it's kind of hard to convey all of this in one meeting. It'd be pretty dry. The final report and appendices are available online on the MPO's website if you want to dig into any of the details. But that's what this is. The main output of this study is data. It's data that's going to feed into the travel demand model and the Metropolitan Transportation Plan update that is just getting underway here. Oh, you're right. It is a little touchy. So, as I said, we're providing data specifically. We're thinking about jobs and households, job and household growth, and making our best guess as to where that will be located throughout the community, because that's going to translate to additional trips on the roadway network, and then it could potentially create capacity issues that will be evaluated as part of the MTP. But this is just one tool that will be considered in the MTP process. So kind of important to keep it in mind and think about the broader context here. I'll breeze through this slide. We're essentially at the end of the process, just completing up the TAZ allocation. Sorry about the wiggling here. Just wanted to refresh everybody quickly on the projections. We did show you these previously, but as I said, it's been a few months. So the MPA totals are at the bottom, and you can focus on the change category, the third one under population, households, and jobs. Those are our growth targets. So overall 15,000 plus people, and then as far as jobs and households, what we're actually allocating, over 6,500 households and nearly 5,000 jobs. The Grand Forks East Grand Forks portion is on the second line there. So you can see it's not much change as far as households and jobs. The jobs actually in particularly is a little lower. But I think that's consistent with the trends that we've seen the last 5-10 years across the region, and for East Grand Forks in particular. Speaking of the employment forecasts, and this was not something that we presented to the group previously. We mostly focused on population and overall growth rates. So I just wanted to hit on this briefly. But as part of our forecasts use a cohort component model where we're thinking about the population in different age groups, and we're aging those forward. And so that aligns with like the working age population. So as we're thinking forward to 2055, we have modeled the structure of the population by age, and that has ramification for the number of employees, employment by different industries, etc. So we created models of employment across different industry groups for these different age groups, essentially. And then the total forecast is going to be the sum of all of the employment across different industries for those age groups. We did talk a lot as a group with the steering committee, with Nancy, Ryan, Teri, and Ben about employment forecasts. Generally, and with Mark as well, I think provided some great insight about overall regional economic trends. And I think you might be wondering why the employment forecasts seem like they're a little low. I think part of that, again, is because they are associated with the age structure of the population, and we're projecting that to change. We're also projecting that employment in certain industries may decline even as employment in other industries goes up. So there's a few things happening there. But overall, we did take a good hard look at that, and we feel comfortable with those projections. So then getting into the TAZ allocation process, there were a few steps here, and it was an iterative process. Step one was making sure that we refined TAZ boundaries. There were a few tweaks there. We're working with ATAC, the Advanced Traffic Analysis Center at NDSU, so they made some updates to our spatial data set that we're starting with. Then we established 2025 baseline allocation. So we looked at the model from 2020, and we looked at growth that had happened between 2020 and 2025. We're making sure that that's reflected in our 2025 baseline, so we have a solid starting point. Then we took a first cut at allocating jobs and households to TAZs and ran through that with Nancy and Ryan and Ben and Teri at the MPO. Got stakeholders' feedback and made some modifications there. And ultimately, as we were finalizing things, we kind of had to rebalance all of the numbers to make sure that our totals remain consistent with those growth targets that I showed on the previous slide. So there's certainly an art to it. I think there's some areas where we have a pretty good understanding of potential development proposals or things that have been discussed, and know pretty well what that means in terms of jobs or households. And there's other areas where it's more of an educated guess. Based on knowledge of things like, planned or proposed development initiatives, available infrastructure capacity, overall site development potential, looking at like the remaining acreage of a site, thinking about how much of it's been built out, what remains, thinking about the anticipated timing of major infrastructure projects. I think this is more for Grand Forks, but thinking about the interchange, future interchange at 47th Avenue, for example. I think Nancy and Ryan were great to work with. They also have a lot of knowledge of local landowners, so understanding what property owners are thinking about doing with their property and what the timing of that might look like. So that was really helpful. We were actually able to go kind of TAZ by TAZ, area by area, and allocate jobs and households that way. A couple other considerations I just wanted to point out. So as far as households, there's a lot more data that we're providing to ATAC for their modeling purposes that is available in spreadsheet format in GIS, not necessarily reported in the report. But we actually are looking at household types by size, so 1 person, 2 person, 3 person households up to 7 people, because those are all inputs that the model needs, and different household sizes are going to have different trip generation characteristics. Similar for employment, we're looking across different industries, and different industries are going to have different trip generation characteristics, and the total employment allocation is going to be the sum of those industry allocations. We also used a proprietary data source called Data Axle, which does kind of give us a sense of where future job and household growth might be going, and we tried our best to align our TAZ allocations up with that. And then finally, I think this was more of a discussion that we had as we got toward the end of the process, but we're aware that there are some areas that are outside of the metropolitan planning area, outside the TAZ network, where there could be or will likely be growth. And so some of those sites, the NPN site in Grand Forks, the Air Force Base, et cetera, those can be modeled as external stations. There's a process for doing that, but those jobs or households wouldn't be included in the TAZ network. So everything is accounted for. Some of it we just kind of have to approach a different way. There aren't any external stations on the East Grand Forks side, but that was something that we talked about. So I'll show some final maps here. Again, there's a lot more detail available online. But here's a map showing the 30-year household change, and you can see how we've allocated growth in East Grand Forks. You're going to have the lighter blue colors because it's not as significant as growth in Grand Forks, obviously. But the primary growth areas are going to be on the south end, and then there are some infill sites more in the middle of the community that we looked at with Nancy as well. And then as far as employment, the 30-year employment allocations, you can see, again, obviously most of the growth in Grand Forks, but there are some areas where we're projecting growth in East Grand Forks, particularly this area on the east side here. I can't see if that's 101 to 250. That's what it looks like to me. So, and then some additional growth in this TAZ here. Nancy, did you want to add anything about like specific locations that are showing up here, or any considerations on your end?
Nothing other than most of our growth. Just to point out that most of our growth is either industrial or it's government in nature. So schools, university, those types of things. We haven't seen any noticeable growth in healthcare or anything like that. And as far as entry-level jobs, they're kind of getting eaten up right now by AI. So that's kind of where you see the influx in one to the other. But again, right now it's a little more volatile to look at things. But that's why we do it every 5 years. Mm-hmm. So this could change. So don't think that this is what we're expecting, you know, all the way out to 2055. We look at it every 5 years, and we hope to see our employment go up. I mean, that's what every city wants. We want to see more growth, both in employment and in households. So, but I think we did a really accurate depiction of what we see today in those locations. So
yeah, I think you're right. That's a good point. I mean, obviously 30 years is a long time to plan for. That's what we're trying our best to do, but we're going to have more I think comfort with our forecasts and our allocations in like the latter, or the first half of that planning phase. And certainly there's more uncertainty the farther out you look. And like you said, we do update this every 5 years. So it's one tool. It'll feed into the travel demand model. You know, that will be a tool to assist local jurisdictions in the MPO in particular with planning future roadway investments, but it's not the only tool. There's certainly other criteria and things that you guys will be looking at and considering as you're making those plans. Final slide here is just real quick, illustrating obviously that we'll be coming back next week for city councils, both Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, and then slated to bring this to the MPO Executive Board for final approval in August. And Teri, you mentioned that the ATAC is already working with the data that we've provided, so they've begun the process of updating their model already, and that's great because you're about to get started on the MTP update. So anything else you want to add, or Mark, you want to add on your end? I don't even know if I mentioned Mark. Obviously, we teamed with Praxis on this, and you played a key role in the focus groups and kind of helping set the economic context for us. So it was great to be involved with Mark on this project.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for him? Seeing none, thank you for the hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Okay, moving on. Request for conditional approval to hire a new police officer. Chief Hedlund.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Grant Eckerson is an applicant that we've been working on a background on for a while now. Everything is coming up fantastic on that, and he's just got the final couple of steps in the background. Actually, today he completed the physical agility course. I got the report about a half an hour ago on that, and he passed that without any issues. Next week he has his he has his medical physical and his psychological, and then after that it's just a matter of him taking the post test. Just trying to potentially move things up. We're not sure when his post-test is going to be. He couldn't get that scheduled until after he graduated from Alexandria from Skills, which was last Friday. Hopefully he'll have that scheduled in a few more days, and so then we'll know that date, and then we can actually figure out a start date for him. But just the way the council cycle rolls sometimes, I thought this potentially, if council was willing to approve of this conditionally, we could potentially get him started maybe as much as 2 weeks earlier than we could otherwise. So just thought we'd see what you folks thought. Position's been open over for a year, so it'd be nice to get it filled.
Any questions for the chief? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Request to declare a vehicle as surplus property for the purpose of selling it at auction.
One more car. It sounds like this will be the last one for a while. It kind of came through quicker than Corporal Root expected. So we have one more vehicle that we're requesting to be approved as surplus property to sell at auction.
No questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Request approval for special event application for the Memorial Run, Nick Minske, on August 15th, 2026, 12 to 9. Renee.
Mayor and Vice President and council members, thank you. This is something that you did or approved last year as well. There is just some slight changes with this one this year. They are adding in a downtown horns in the evening to this event. So there's some additional road blockage, so that has been submitted to DOT. I've worked with Chief Hedlund, and there's been some conversation that I think I'll turn over to you as far as how you perceive with some of the new changes, with also having outdoor alcohol with this band as well.
Location for this event is basically right up in front of Up North Pizza. It's where the first Rockin' Up North festivals would have been held, except the big difference here is they're planning on having the stage in the parking lot behind the apartment building there and up north. So the only things that'll be on the street are literally going to be our barricades that will have that section blocked off. So there's not a long-term setup beforehand, and it won't take long to get that torn down. Our on-duty staff will plan on doing that. I've talked to Jason, and Public Works staff will get the barricades staged, and they'll also get some detour signs posted for our folks to put out as it's getting close to time to shut that area down. So it shouldn't be a major issue. I did request that we have an extra officer on staff. I think we should be able to cover it with that. It's not a real long event, and I don't anticipate there being a significant amount of problems. So I'm hoping with one officer and then our on-duty staff, we can handle one extra officer and our on-duty staff, we can take care of it.
Okay. They gotten all their paperwork in, their insurance and everything?
Yes, everything has been submitted, their map, the insurance, yep, everything, yes. And it's been submitted to Sean at Minnesota DOT as well. I've talked to him prior, so, yes.
We do have a parade that will be requiring the intersection of 4th and Demers to be closed off for a period of time that morning, roughly 10 to noon. So because of that, they're having to just slightly adjust where they're going to start off on their motorcycle ride. It's my understanding they have permission to use the chiropractic lot that's roughly a block east from there. So that's where, even though I'm sure a lot of the folks will be gathering at up north at the start, they'll actually be departing from outside of our blocked off parade area.
Any other questions? Ben?
Thank you. Where is the stage being put up?
My understanding is in the apartment parking lot. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. All the bikes
When I
and everything were
spoke
going
to
to be in there.
one organizer, she assured me that it was not going to be on the street, and I guess for me that was my biggest concern.
I guess, what about the people that live there? Where are they supposed to park?
And that's, I guess I'm not sure, was that parking lot or across the street? I'm honestly not sure.
Right, if it's in the VFW parking lot, that would make sense. If it's in the parking lot directly adjacent to the building, I think that's a problem.
And we can double check on that. I could have misunderstood her.
I'll double check with Kathleen as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's in the VFW parking lot, I would have no issue with it. But if it's in that adjacent parking lot, I think they're going to have trouble keeping that parking lot clear to be able to build a stage. And where are all those people that park there on a regular basis going to park for probably a day?
Yeah, good point.
So, thank you.
I think that's the parking lot they used last time when we had the big event there.
The Up North Fest?
Yeah,
No, they use the VFW parking lot.
the VFW, that's what I mean, the VFW
Right.
parking lot.
Right. They should use
That
the
would make
VFW
sense.
parking lot, not the one behind the Up North building.
We'll look into that.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Nope. Update with city code conversion of Municode.
Again,
Renee.
thank you, Mayor and Vice President and council members. So a year ago, or actually a couple years ago, my understanding is Megan started to look into researching different ways of updating our city code and codification to get things on a more regular basis of being codified. I can show you here currently, actually I had to go over one, I'm sorry. Currently on our website, if you go under our city code, you will see that we have links to our city code, if I can keep the mouse still, and you'll see that there are various links to codes and ordinances, that have been updated but have not actually moved into our code. My understanding is past practice is it's about a 10 to 15 year before they are all merged into our actual code. So they kind of start to hover here and build up. The intention is to get these all moved into the Municode and have them updated on a regular basis. They then are also reviewed by Municode's legal staff and compared with Minnesota Statute on a regular basis. That conversion was started last July. I came in January and started finishing up where Megan had left off. We are now ready with everything to be converted, which that whole page that you just saw will no longer be. There will be an explanation and a link that will take you over to this particular page. It'll look like this starting off. And you have off to the side, on the left-hand side, you will have basically your table of contents here of how our structure of codes look. When we have new codes that come in, they will drop into here, those different ordinances. They will pend here for approximately 6 months to 12 months, and then they are always codified and merged in. But you will always be able to see what's new. That's kind of what this is telling you, what's changed. So you'll be able to see those here. You will be able to click on these and see the breakdowns and take you right in. You have the capability of seeing, well, let's not look at this. This is just a, introduction there. Let's look at actual code. So in administration, everything's been reformatted, everything's uniform, lot more. It's just a better visibility for everybody. You will see that in your codes, all the updates are going to be listed down below, what the ordinance number, what series it is, and the last time that took place and effective. Everything is going to be continuous there. You'll always see that. Off to the side, I'd like to point off that you can share this link. If you're interested in something and you want to talk about it with somebody else, you can click right here and you can send that off to somebody. You can print. Now, if we click this print, the nice piece about this is you can go and select particular pieces. You don't have to select the whole thing. So you can start placing check marks in here where you want, and you can go ahead and print those. You also have where you can look at it as a Word version, you can send an email, and you can also start to compare versions. Right now you can't do a compare version because it's brand new. But as we make changes to these, you can go up and say show changes Right now, there isn't any, but it's going to start showing you red lines in there. So you're going to be able to see that. You're going to be able to see when those changes, it's going to give you those dates. So when those start popping in there, then you can start utilizing that compare codes. So then you can start looking at, well, what did we start with? What did we end with? And all that. So you're going to start to just have a continuous update all the time of moving forward from today, and everything that we had in file is in here. You're just not going to be able to see all those red lines at this moment. I'm ready to move forward with this tomorrow to make this live, or the next day, but it is current as of right now. A lot of variations. You can sign up just like we can on Civic Plus. If you want to be notified of when there's changes, you can enroll in this as well, and every time there's a modification, it'll send you an email.
Any questions for Renee?
I know that was really fast.
No questions? If in doubt, just call Renee and she'll tell you anyway, right?
Yes.
All right, anything else? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ben. All second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved.